Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you. Wonderful to celebrate this fantastic bat mitzvah. Facebook told me that 9 years ago today I moved to Israel. Lived there for a little bit. And when I lived there, I developed a little ritual along the street of Agron. This is the street where our apartment in Rehavia was. After Shabbat was over on Saturday night, I would wait until the stores opened back up, and I would walk down the street to my favorite store, which was called the Feel Box. This is a very unusual name for a shop. I don't think that I was up to anything nefarious in the store. This was just a regular, small convenience store, and it had a bunch of American items in it. And to be honest, I don't know why it was called the Feel Box. I don't know if they knew, but there you go. If anything had to do with the guy who worked there, it made total sense because it always seemed like the guy that was behind the counter had no idea what was going on. His name was Itai. I think Itai was in his 20s, and his outfit and demeanor defined the Israeli term Hiloni, which means non-religious, very, very secular. Itai wore lots of jewelry. He kind of looked like Mr. T, just tons and tons of gold. He wore these really, really tight pants, had these big sneakers, this very, very interesting haircut. And Itai loved to talk to me about America. He would like to talk to me about American music and pop culture, fashion, all of it. But he was particularly curious about Texas. He asked me if people rode horses everywhere, and one time he asked me if I ever lassoed anyone. And I remember I told him that you could fit Israel into Texas 17 times. And he said, lo nachon, which means not true, which it is, by the way. This blew his mind. He could not understand it. And every Saturday night, Itai would open up the field box after Shabbat. I would go and I'd buy some ice cream for the family. And when he would see me, every week he'd say, Shavua tov achi. Shavua tov achi. Every time. Now when I hear the word achi, which literally translates to my brother, I think of Itai. Every time. Now Itai and myself are two very different people. We come from two very different backgrounds. We believe in similar things, kind of. But the way we let these things affect us could not be further apart. But still, at the end of the day, Itai would always say, Achi, my brother. And that's just how Jerusalem is. Everyone is family. Nobody gets along, but everybody's still family. I think, by the way, historically, this is just how Jews have talked for a long time. Achi. For instance, in our Parsha for the week, we have two Parshas, Parshot Behar-Bechukotai. In Parshot Behar, we hear variations of this word achi a lot. Like I mentioned earlier, achi literally means my brother. Oftentimes, it's translated in the Torah as my kinsman, or my kin, meaning not my biological brother, but rather another Jewish person, another Israelite living amongst me. This parsha specifically deals with how to interact with your achicha, or your kinsmen, or your fellow Jews. In chapter 35, it says, quote, if any of your kin become poor and are unable to support themselves among you, help them as you would a foreigner, a stranger, so that they can live amongst you. Do not take interest or any profit from them, but fear your God, so that they may continue to live amongst you. You must not lend them money at interest or sell them food at a profit. It's going to be okay, guys. It's all right. Trust me. I officiate ceremonies where we circumcise an infant, right? Like, I can handle phone. It's okay. Trust me. It'll be okay. We're told in this verse that we as Jews are explicitly forbidden to make an interest-bearing loan to other Jews. This idea, by the way, is repeated all over the Torah. We hear it in the book of Devarim. It says that word achicha, your brother again. You shall not deduct interest from loans to your kinsmen, whether in money or food or anything else that comes that can be deducted as interest, but you may deduct interest from loans to foreigners. Do not deduct interest from your loans to fellow Israelites so that God blesses you all in your undertakings in the land you are about to enter and possess. This is interesting because here we're told again, we cannot make interest-bearing loans to who? Fellow Jews, but we are allowed to do so with others, especially what the Torah calls the nachar, the foreigner, the alien, the non-Israelite. Now, this verse and a series of other verses make things very interesting for the Jewish people living in the Middle Ages, even up to the Renaissance. The King James Bible is published in 1611, and it translates achi, my brother, as thy brother, which is a term that Christians use for each other. But it also translates that verse I read you, thou shalt not give upon him thy money upon usury, which was the practice of lending money on interest. So I know I've talked. Why is this so important? It actually really was. The Catholic Church would come to control all of Europe, and they would forbid those Catholics from lending money to each other. The Jews, however, were not bound to this law, and because they were forbidden to participate in other trades and other guilds, eventually, this is how the Jewish community took up the practice of money lending to Christians. This is where the earliest roots of anti-Semitic money troops are born, out of necessity. We couldn't do much else, but we were allowed to make loans. The greatest example of this is William Shakespeare's play Merchant of Venice. It's set in Italy in the 16th century. And if you read this play and know the historical background of it, it's fascinating because we know that historically Jews living in Venice were forced to live inside a walled ghetto. And every night the gate was locked and guarded by some Christian guards. And additionally, Jews in Venice were forced to wear red hats. Had to wear red hats all the time so that they could be identified at any time and forced to comply with Venetian law. Now, ironically, Catholic policies made the ghetto a very popular place of business. Lots of trading and banking went on. Many Venetians would go to the Jewish part of town to apply for a loan. That is the only place they could really get one. And in Shakespeare's play, the chief antagonist in The Merchant of Venice is a money-lending Jew named Shylock. Over the years, Shylock has turned, I think, into more of a caricature of a Jew than an actual one. If you look at the early stage plays that are filmed, he's depicted with this overtly large fake nose. He has this long, fake, scraggly beard. This character, of course, has been used for anti-Semitic propaganda for centuries, whether it's Europe in the Renaissance or even recently, the Nazis performed this play to their own soldiers in World War II. Shylock is presented as a miserly and venomous character. He decries the play's protagonist, a guy named Antonio, because he lends money with no interest, a practice that forces Shylock to lower his interest rates to other customers. And eventually, Shylock becomes revengeful and demands that he extract a pound of flesh from Antonio if he doesn't pay back a loan that he was given. Ugh. Now, this is a gross mischaracterization of Jews. It seems like even though it's abhorrent. It's like Shakespeare was able to acknowledge their pain because he gives Shylock one of the most powerful monologues of any of his plays. I remember when I first studied this as an English major, this particular narrative really caught my eye because in it, Shylock implores the audience to recognize that Jews are human beings as well. Let me read to you what this character says. He says, "Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands like you? Organs, dimensions, senses, affections, and passions? Is a Jew not fed the same food, hurt with the same weapons that you are, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter day as that of my Christian fellows? If you prick a Jew, does he not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not likewise make revenge?" Somehow, in Shakespeare's genius, the playwright is able to channel a reaction, a hostility, a feeling, an honest feeling that any ostracized Jew in Venice would have felt. And after hearing such an earnest monologue, one might even begin to sympathize with the villain whose only crime was being Jewish, being born Jewish in an ignorant time. It is here, friends, that I wonder how Shylock might have reacted if instead of being treated like an outsider, he too was hugged and greeted with Achi, my brother. To broaden this idea, what if we were to treat every person that we interact with, every person that we meet, what if we treated them as Achi, a brother, a sister, a family member? Perhaps if we did that, there would be more familiarity, more compassion, and more love in the world. So where does this leave us? Well, I did some homework. I had to check this out. The Catholic Church has relaxed some on their policies with regard to money lending, but technically usury is still forbidden according to church doctrine. And likewise, Jews are not supposed to make loans to other Jews, hence the reason that the Hebrew Free Loan Society was born out of this exact premise. Give loans without interest. This is a program that still makes loans available to Jews who qualify at no cost. While this program might not be perfect, I think it still personifies the idea that the Torah commands us to look after our own Achi, our own kinsmen. Friends, it's my hope that one day every person will be able to look at the other and see something familial in them. I hope we can get as far away from red Jewish hats and ghettos and pounds of flesh as possible. The mitzvah mentioned in our Torah, no less than 36 times, is the commandment to be kind to the stranger. So I challenge us to go out and make for ourselves an Achi, a brother, sister, friend. Shabbat Shalom.